But again, I think you all know who I am, Brian Underwood with the Planning Center. I've got Linda Morales here with me tonight, Garrett, who we also work with, and then Scott Gold for the Linda Vista 39 property. And I believe the posts are going to be here as well. I'm not sure where they are. But since we're short on time, we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. And this is similar to, I think pretty much all of you were here except for a couple of you at our last meeting on June 2nd. So I do have that plan in there because I want to show any of those folks that weren't here on the 2nd how the plan has evolved over time. So very similar to our June 2nd meeting, just want to show you, recap. Here's what our original plan looked like. Here's what we had revised it to back on June 2nd. And for anybody who wasn't at that meeting, ultimately what we did was, ultimately what we did for the Linda Vista 39 project was we reduced the overall number of apartments, mainly by removing a couple buildings, pulling that back, providing a greater buffer there on the north side, closest to existing homes. And then we also limited the height of that closest building, and we doubled the width of the landscape border up on the north side. So it was originally 30 feet. We upped that to 60 feet on the 2nd. Now, I think what we're all here tonight for is to see if the apartments are still in this development, right? And so, as you can see, here's a design without any apartments. We've worked with our client on the Linda Vista 39 property here, and come up with a plan that he's comfortable with moving forward with without having the apartments in the mix. And so a couple of other items, you know, as a result of that meeting that we had on June 2nd, there were some other asks at that meeting. Some things that we talked about were limiting homes along the perimeter to a single story, so up along this north boundary. And then I think, Jenny, you had mentioned that there was kind of a high point in the property down here. So we took these homes that are right here at the corner and also just went ahead and called those single story as well. So I know there was a request as well afterwards for entirely single story. That isn't something that we're willing to concede, but as you can see here, we would have that single story up along the northern boundary and down in the corner where you would ask for it. And then the other change,
that doesn't mean that every other home is going to be 2-story. So
yes, that's a great point actually, Linda. So these are the ones with the black asterisk that we are automatically saying these are going to be single story. However, I think I'd mentioned it at one of our previous meetings, that the town has what are called residential design standards, and those design standards limit the number of homes that can be 2-story. So it's 50% of the homes, up to 50% could be 2-story, and really then it becomes a matter of buyer preference. You know, and it's just traditionally folks tend to like to have that single story from a mobility standpoint. If you can get the square footage of the home in a single story footprint, then most buyers are looking to have that single story home, unless you're a larger family and you need the extra bedrooms and you need the second story there. So in addition to that 50% restriction, there's also restrictions on where those can be placed. They can't be, you know, all in a row. You've got to, you know, you can do maybe a couple 2 stories and then you've got to put a single story. They also don't allow them at the corners. So basically where you're coming up, you know, that would have to be a single story there. And so things like that. So they're in the residential design standards. It's going to tie down the 2 stories by default a bit more. And then the other big change that we did here is, now that we've turned this entirely into a single family community, we went ahead and we added gated entries down here as well. So make it a little bit more of an exclusive community back behind the gates, and hopefully help increase those premiums that they can get for that. So any questions?
What's the total number of
Oh, total number of lots is 165, I think it's right in here somewhere, yeah, it's that number. So yeah, 165 lots.
I came in a few minutes late. You said it's just single family or
It's all
no
single,
apartments?
no apartments, all single family, owner occupied homes, no rental homes, no apartments, all just traditional single family. Any other questions about this plan before we move to the Linda Vista 13 plan? No? Okay. So moving into Linda Vista 13, here's the original plan that we showed you all back in May. This is the redesign that we had last month at our meeting on June 2nd. And to walk anybody that wasn't at that meeting through the changes that occurred, you can see that we've sort of flipped the design on this. Originally, everything was positioned along the eastern and southern boundaries. And essentially what we did is we flipped everything over to the western boundary, ran the street straight up so that those homes are backing up to the Linda Vista 39 property, and giving a much wider buffer to the homes on the east, and also changing what it looks like along Linda Vista Place considerably from what we had originally, where it was, I think, 12 or 14 homes lined up along the street there. Now you're getting just the sides of a couple or the corners of a couple of homes. We also put, ultimately those changes ended up reducing the overall lot count from 56 to 47. And we relocated, at that time, the park that we had down here to the southeast corner of the property to give kind of just a visual relief as you're driving along Linda Vista Boulevard. You're not seeing homes, you're seeing just a open park area that you can see across. And so the redesign that we have for Linda Vista 13, basically what we did is we came in here and again, we limited all of the homes to a single story along the perimeter. We even wrapped that along the south boundary here as well, just so that you don't have two stories that are closer to Linda Vista Place. And we also added a gated entry here. So this would be an entirely gated community as these ones would, or as this one would as well. But what that did is, we shifted everything up, right? So that it's even further away from Linda Vista Place. And I wanna make sure that we're all understanding how this works, because I think after that June 2nd meeting, there was still some thought that anyone that's living along Linda Vista Place would have to drive through the subdivision itself. And so you wouldn't be driving into the subdivision, you would be driving past the subdivision. And ultimately, now there's literally no way that you would be able to get into that subdivision because it's a gated entry right there. So the street would come off of the realignment of Linda Vista Place, and ultimately this segment of Linda Vista Place would all be a paved segment. What that meant to accommodate that gate is that we had to make some changes internally down in here, and also you probably noticed along this eastern boundary where we, on the redesign, had 6 lots. We're back up to 9 lots over here on that eastern boundary. We were able to keep all of the setback and the buffer that you have there that we were able to create on the redesign back last month. But ultimately, we do have a couple more lots there along that street. There's no other changes that we've made to this plan, but there have been some changes to important dates. So I believe in the letter that I sent you all, I had mentioned that this date right here was going to be at the end of the month, so 2 weeks from now. I think it was literally the same day or the day after I sent that letter, I got a call from the planning director telling me that the council chambers, they're renovating them and they wouldn't be ready for our meeting on the 30th. So they pushed us to August 27th. So ultimately, we would have the mayor and council meeting for consideration of the annexation. That would come up here, the first meeting in August. And then we would have consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission for the rezonings, assuming that the annexation is passed. We would have a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the rezonings on the 27th, with the final vote by the mayor and council tentatively set for September 16th. We're not locked in on that date, but that's the date that we're shooting for.
So it's gonna go to the Planning and Zoning Commission after it goes to council?
The
After
the
the annexation,
rezonings,
yeah.
yeah.
And the mayor's recused, so.
So it would be annexation, separate process, separate item, right? So that would get heard by the mayor and council. It doesn't go to the planning commission. That would happen on August 6th. Then if that's approved, then we would be moving forward with the rezoning, and that's where we would have a meeting with the commission on the 27th. Yes, sir.
Couple of quick questions, Brian. Looking at Linda Vista 13 and the gate on, into the property, is there gonna be a secondary gate into Linda Vista Boulevard at that point?
No, so we're not proposing any kind of, it would just be free flow access like you have currently on Linda Vista.
And then one other question, if I may. So, you're presenting 39 and 13 here a little separately.
Yeah.
Are they gonna be separate votes for the annexation, or are they gonna be combined as 52?
It would be combined for the annexation as 52, and then if the annexation is successful, the votes for each rezoning would be separate.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So those would be heard as separate items at the P&Z and at the council. I think there was a question somewhere over here, maybe? No? Any other questions?
So there's no apartments in this either.
No, no apartment. We've never had any apartments
Yeah,
over
I
here.
just want to make sure there were nothing new.
No, no, we didn't move them from over there to over here.
Right.
I guess one more. I'm sorry. I guess I'm still a little confused because the Linda Vista Boulevard today is all private property. We have our property lines that go through the center of the street all the way up and down. What are the legalities around that? Do we need to sign off on that before you modify the road? I mean, it just perplexes to me, since it is private property and the annexation is only including half of the stretch of the road for a certain point.
So ultimately, this is being proposed not to serve us. So we could build our gated access and then just come out here, and there's nothing stopping that. There's nothing changing that, right? And
It's
so
unsafe.
ultimately,
I mean, having Linda Vista Boulevard Linda Vista Place intersect at an angle.
and that is the reason why the town has said we would like it if you could accommodate Linda Vista Place to be able to come through this property. It's not required for you all to do that. It's just the town saying, hey, as you do your project, make it safer for these folks to be able to come out at 90 degrees at Linda Vista.
Yeah, again, I'm just trying to wrap my three brain cells around that, because I think the Posts own half of the road, right? The Harkeys own the other half of the road. And then as you go up northeast, each parcel along the road owns half of the road. So since it is all private property, I'm just kind of wondering what the legalities were around changing the road, the entrance to the road.
Right, and as I said, we wouldn't be changing the entrance to that road, and
I see.
anything that we do, we would just set back from
I see.
the
So
25 feet.
theoretically, we could continue using the road as is, and then the asphalt would bump up again next to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
The
Well,
town
and no,
transportation,
so
yeah.
if you just continue
Yeah.
using this, then there won't be any asphalt coming out to the boundary, it would just do this.
I see.
Town transportation staff would prefer that this
Mhm.
alignment be used because it's safer. They always want you to come in, and we've got a traffic expert here, so.
We do,
Yeah.
we brought our traffic
I shouldn't
traffic
be talking
expert, yes.
traffic. We got the guy that knows everything, but this is Marcus Esparza, and he did our traffic report. But yeah, they wanted to come in at 90 because that's always a safer thing than coming in at 80.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Especially as part of the project, right? But since the annexation stops, at the middle of the dirt road. Again, I'm just trying to get my keep a
Right.
little brain
No,
on
it
together,
took
but-
us a while to think through it too and figure out
Yeah.
how we could accommodate the town's concerns and still
Sure.
work through that. And we're still maintaining the easement through there. We're not getting rid of any of that, so the
Yeah.
easement's still there.
So that'll stay, oh, by the way, congratulations, another action item you got checked off. So the dirt road on Linda Vista Place will stay the same. And there's just gonna be another entrance exit area over there, and so are there gonna be two of them, or just the one on Linda Vista Boulevard?
So there would be just our one here, and then you'd continue to have your dirt road that comes out.
Well, what happened, go up a little bit more with your green light, your laser. What happened, go up. So, what happens, and then go right, just go straight right, there you go. What's happening right there?
So if you all don't want this, what I'm saying is that we would just take this away. So this wouldn't exist. And then we would just have our access that comes down like this.
So how do we keep that subdivision from using our street?
Well, there'd be a curb here, so they wouldn't be able to even turn. It would just be a street with a curb, so this segment wouldn't exist.
Alright.
So Brian, any consideration of a second gate, on the asphalt to get to the dirt road? You know, you're gonna be gated entry into the community if we decide we wanna use that asphalt, to the right there to gain access. Any thoughts on a private gate there?
So yeah, so that's where, I think Dan had brought it up at the last meeting to say, the gate that he has on his property, there might be an opportunity to put that, to serve, the private roadway.
So is that
Is,
something we can count on?
Well, I think, for us, it's one of those things of we don't know where these asks stop, right? And it sounds like even if we were to, concede to everything, right? We'll give you everything, we may still have you adamantly opposed against us and showing up to the council and saying that you don't want this project. So ultimately,
We don't want the
we don't
project.
want this.
well, yeah, so then ultimately, there's gotta be some give and take through this process, right? And we have, at every turn, we have listened to you and we have made changes commensurate with what you've asked for. And it seems like you all are still, like you said, you want this project to just go away. And so I would say if that's the stance, then no, I think we can't offer anything else at this point.
So we're there.
I mean,
So
well,
how does that subdivision come in on 19 feet of property? Have they got an easement in 39 that's been given to them?
there's an easement that sits there. Can you see that dash line?
Yeah.
That exists today. It's a 50-foot ingress egress easement.
To be abandoned.
Yeah, because we'd have
Yeah,
we wouldn't need the
can't do that
easement
anymore.
once the street
Okay,
would go.
but the entrance is part of it, looks like to me, it is in 39.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
it's-
agreement between the posts and Mr. Goodman to have that straddle the property line.
Well, yeah, the easement is 50 feet today, and the street that we would have is 50 feet, so it'll fit within 25 feet on the Goodman property and 25 feet on the post. So,
Well, and the reality is that in the order of the way things are gonna go, that Linda Vista 39 would be built first. And then the Linda Vista 13 would come later. And so that road, which is in the layout, has been done so it accommodates that road in there, so. I don't know where I'm going with that, but basically in the order of everything, that would be preserved so that little stretch would be available to the developer of the 13.
So I've got a question that's maybe not something that you'd be able to answer.
Okay.
Your traffic expert perhaps can.
He's right there. So-
Garrett's like, not me.
Traffic expert training, but, so I haven't heard, and I haven't been able to watch every single, conversation on this. So if you've already answered it, be generous and re-answer it. But I haven't heard anything about, let's say that this pops up out of thin air overnight, and it's all there tomorrow. There's an enormous amount of resources that the city has to put in just to support this new community. There's gonna be around 200 new homes, that's about 200 new kids, that's schools, that's teachers, which we have a shortage of. And then there's firefighters and police, there's all this stuff that has been brought up in at least some of the meetings that I've seen, but I haven't seen those comments addressed, actually at all. So what's the plan to supporting all of the logistical resources and the roads? Because I haven't seen too much about, you know, the increased traffic and how you're gonna support that with the surrounding roads. Are you gonna add new lights? Are you gonna expand the roads to be additional lanes?
So the developer will be responsible for the expansion of Linda Vista. That's not gonna be the town's expense, that's at the developer expense.
But up to
So,
Linda Vista Place, right?
up to Linda Vista Place, yeah. And then the improvements at that intersection as well. Anything that is caused by this is going to be paid for by the developer.
Okay, so what about the schools or the
And
teachers?
schools, and we have,
police?
as part of our application, we put together a site analysis that talks about that, about how many kids will be, potentially coming out of here, about, you know, a part of the annexation considerations is the, in their analysis that they look at, the town looks at how many, you know, what burden it would have on public services, and weighs that against the revenue that is generated from the new residents of that. So the revenue is the shared revenue that we get from the state. Each one of these homes is gonna pay a significant impact fee. And that impact fee, there's, you know, impact fees for roads, and that money doesn't go to pay for the roads that we need to do for our development. It goes into the big pool of impact fee funds that can be used for bigger projects, like matching funds and building actual roads that the town builds that don't have a developer that's gonna be, you know, funding them.
Do those fees all go to Tom Moran, right?
Uh-huh, yeah, they go in, they're paid at the time of permit.
Right.
But on that,
I'm glad that there is an analysis. I'm still looking for the response to the analysis, so maybe you
Yeah,
have all
and
you
we're
can
fine,
do,
I
but
mean, Marana's school district understands that growth is coming and they're prepared for it. You know, they're
they have
continuing to
capacity
open
in their
more.
schools.
Yeah, there's
I
capacity
don't know, because
there.
I've got kids that are.
Well, we've done
that
the
are going into
analysis and we have a
school.
letter
Well,
from them.
yeah,
in
we
our
reached out to
application.
the school
Do they-
district
did.
and they,
responded to
and they
you?
said,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
that
it's in
there's
our
capacity
application.
for you.
Can we get a copy of that response?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't
Keep-
have it in front of us.
Keep in mind that, Jason Angel, that's his
Uh-huh.
name?
Yeah.
Said that, residential properties do not bring their town lots of money. It's commercial. So.
Commercial
just-
brings more as far as taxes.
I'm just quoting what he said.
You're right.
So just keep that
yeah.
in mind.
I think
Commercial
we're-
does bring more ongoing taxes, but this will definitely pay its fair share.
I've
pay its
just
way
gone
as
through
far
a
as the
summer
offset costs.
trying to get my kids into a school when they were, you know, because enrollment, there's too many people in these schools now, right here. And so what my lived experience shows me is not what you're being told, although your analysis is likely accurate. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm very interested in what they're telling you, because they're saying there's all kinds of capacity. I'd like to see that, because that's not my lived experience, and I'm concerned with 200 kids. What pain will that bring me and my family
I don't-
next year or the following year?
And I think the
I think
challenge
you're
is
way
that.
overestimating the number of kids we're talking about.
Yeah,
I
the-
don't- I can get you numbers, but
The Plymouth County has not decided when they will widen their portion of the road. It's in their 2035, 2045, and 2055 plan. So as far as, you know, it goes from 4-lane highway to 4-lane up to Linda Vista Place, and then if you're going eastbound to Mountain View High School, still on 2 lanes.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah.
I've been having conversations with the county, and unfortunately, I'm not getting very far yet. But
They're,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
yeah.
These guys can't do anything
No.
And we have Marcos here, he can talk about the trips and where the expected travel routes are, and most of the trips are gonna be going the other way out of our subdivision. Some will go east, but.
Is there gonna be a
Stop
turning
talking to
lane
Marcos.
into Linda Vista 39, or I'm sorry, into 13?
Anytime.
Yes,
Linda
so
Vista
there,
Boulevard?
so there will be a left turn lane to get into Linda Vista Place there, when the road gets widened to 4
What
lanes,
about
that's what you're talking
coming
about.
out and, heading east?
So you're saying, would there be a left turn lane here
No,
to go?
like, basically how, when, I work on the east side, so going out that way,
So-
right now it's quiet, because school's out,
Yeah.
snowbirds are,
Oh, I know, it's
You
great
know.
right now to drive around.
yeah, it's easy, but that's not how it is the rest of the year. And, I mean, it's like night and day difference, so right now it's really quiet, so please don't do any kind of analysis right now, because your numbers would be really bad and really
Best
wrong.
case instead of worst case.
But, having that ability to pull out and make a left to go east onto Linda Vista Boulevard.
So you're saying as you're coming down off the driveway and a dedicated left turn lane?
Yeah, I mean, wherever,
we're just
because you
trying to
guys are
understand the
widening it just up slightly past that opening to Linda Vista Place.
Yeah, it'll transition back down to the 2 lanes, so
Yeah,
it'll
it
be a
won't
little
just
bit,
stop right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So is the intent that new 90-degree intersection, would that portion of the road be considered Linda Vista Place, or is that gonna have a different name? And
So-
then,
Yeah, so this would be, Linda Vista Place would be right here, and you can see it very well, it's kind of faded out, but there's a break in the median right here, so it kind of comes in so that you have a left-hand turn
okay.
and you come in.
My only concern is basically everybody that's heading west is gonna hit this kind of opening, where it suddenly doubles into from 1 lane each direction to 2 lanes each direction. There's a turning lane if you're heading east to turn on, that's nice, but
But leaving is.
To make-
Like a decel.
Trying to
I think is what
leave
she's
our-
asking about.
You want
okay,
a
let's put it
right
this
turn
way,
lane.
the new residents of this development trying to pull out and head east on Linda Vista Boulevard.
I mean, that's very typical for minor streets entering major streets, Linda Vista.
Right at
Linda, right there at that location.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 9,000 trips or 9,000 vehicles per day today.
Right.
Of course, it's heavier in the morning and it's heavier in the evening, but when you're trying to come out in the morning, you're gonna have a little bit of a delay, but again, that's very typical for, minor streets that are not signalized, or driveways, or, anything like that, to come out, and, you get used to it, and that's just the way it is, because you can't put signals at every location. There is a signal at Holy Doris, just
Right.
down the street, and so the cities really like to limit them to like every half mile.
Yeah.
They'll go to a quarter mile if they need to, and they probably will when Marana Center eventually gets its own signal somewhere down the road. But, yeah, it's literally one of those situations where you will have to wait a little bit to
Oh, yeah, we
make
already
that
do.
left out.
Mhm.
So, and then, hopefully when they widen it, and you do have an opportunity to, they call it the refuge area between, where you got a raised median, to wait in
Mhm.
that area, and cities know that,
Okay.
they design that stuff.
Do you anticipate the road improvements to happen before the development, or is it gonna be after? It could be in the middle, but that's unpredictable.
Yeah, I think they're committed to building the roadway improvements. I don't know if it's before the first building is
it would-
occupied, or when, what.
I hate to tell you, but no. I've been talking to both Marana and the county,
Yeah,
and there's very little, if no coordination whatsoever between the 2 governments to try to make the 4 lanes,
yeah.
anywhere else except for right now where these guys are.
Well, that's all we're talking
Yeah.
about right now, because
Yeah.
yes, you're
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
you're right. And you
Yeah,
could-
it's your
you could-
question,
you could-
yeah.
You don't have any sway in that, where you could say, hey, it'd be really great if you could just coordinate.
No, but that's what I've been trying to get them to do,
Because
is to
that's
commit that
clearly that-
before they
Right.
break ground.
Right.
That they at least have a plan in
Right.
place for 4 lanes,
Right.
and funding and the design and the whole thing.
And that goes to
I
my
can't get them to
concern,
commit to that.
that goes to my concern with like the wider resources, not just schools, but police, if they have to respond and there's a bottleneck, or even 911. These other concerns, I don't know if you're even the right group to talk to that, but, I don't
I'd
hear,
have to talk to the.
I don't hear any
local
answers to
government.
that. It's
No,
like you raise a question and it just goes and drifts away.
Yeah, and Linda brought something up about the impact fees, about how these will raise impact fees, you know, but not necessarily for helping out this stretch of Linda Vista.
Right.
When impact fees are developed, the jurisdictions, wherever the impact fees are, gather a list of projects that their priorities are to focus on. And those impact fees go to fund those projects before anything else. So here, even though this is on a list of projects eventually for widening Linda Vista to 4 lanes, on the county side, they're prioritizing, you know, it's
How do
based
they
on
make
their.
their priorities? Is it because we go to their meetings and voice our,
Yeah.
or is it like a vote?
No, that's part of it. I mean, it is important that you guys continue to do
Well,
this.
it's also the data, looking at, you know, vehicles per
Right.
day and that kind of
Okay,
thing.
so
They look to
And
see the-
projections for that too, based on these new
They
developments.
should be pretty good data points, but I
Yeah.
don't know if they're using them.
Yeah, right now, Linda Vista is not over capacity, has a 2-lane roadway it will be when projects come on board. So eventually, there is gonna be some assistance, hopefully, down the road where they realize, you know, we just can't bottleneck people at Hartman. Because right now, Hartman, if you're trying to make a left, in Hartman coming, west on Linda Vista, you're stuck for a while, especially during the peak hour, so, yeah.
But
Yeah.
speaking of impact fees, though, Pima County has an impact fee program as well, and there's 6 intersections from Hartman to Camino de Oeste that they are thinking about including those for left turn lanes. And so it was in their 2020 impact fee program, it's in their 2025 impact fee program. By state statute, they have to do those things within 10 years. So if they put those turn lanes in to the east, that will increase the capacity of Linda Vista Boulevard. It goes from, I think, 17,000 and some change. It'll bump that up to 22,000 with those
Yeah,
turn,
there's still nothing.
those turn lanes.
There's nothing concrete about that. I just talked, yesterday I talked to the civil engineer responsible for this area.
Yeah, they may not have it right now
Well, not
planned
even
and
the
designed
lead-
or
not even
anything,
the leaders.
but here's the deal, is they have money that they've been collecting for a number of years for that impact fee area. They have a handful of projects that are actively, you know, giving them money so that they can bring those projects forward. And those ones, since they were on the 2025, Hartman is an intersection that was on the 2025. So they have to prioritize that one before they move
Right,
forward to
all
the
I'm
next
saying
one.
is that right now, what you're saying is true, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, I'm just telling you that there's nothing really, a realistic plan or any budget or designs that are put in place for it. I think
There's no design,
The only
yeah.
thing this guy was able to tell me was there is if they do decide to expand it, the budget is $47.6 million to do the 4 lanes. He goes, that's all he's got so far.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I sent out another email today to some people. 2 of them are out on vacation until next week, so I won't get a response for a while. But, yeah, it's, I think there's a huge lack of coordination between the town of Marana and Pima County, and that needs to get fixed. Again, it's not your responsibility or anything like that, and what you're saying is the way it's supposed to happen.
But it's not.
But whether it does actually happen that way, I have very, you know, I don't have very much confidence at all that that's gonna happen, or that there's a plan for that to happen right now. And
And I'll
believe
just
me-
say, all of our concerns about this right now will also be the concerns of the people buying these properties.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I know that there's no definitive answer for the 4 lanes, right? But we are talking about 2 slightly different things. You know, the widening of Linda Vista to 4 lanes, and then just adding capacity by way of adding those left turn lanes.
Right.
And that is something
Well,
that
that's a lot
is
cheaper.
that it was a lot cheaper, and it's in the short term. You know, we
I
would
don't
likely see
remember-
that within the
all
next
right.
5 to 10 years.
I don't remember seeing that, but that's okay. I could go back and.
School buses are gonna be fun.
How's that gonna, yeah, the kids in those subdivisions, where's the school bus
That's what
gonna access? It used to be right on Linda Vista Boulevard, and there were your kids
Yeah.
that were taking it. And there's just a few kids and they're on and off and they're gone. That's gonna make a big
There's a
difference right
lot,
there.
yeah.
And they won't be able to get in that subdivision.
Well, they'll have to go in, won't they?
Well, and,
They will be able to, they can get them codes and they
Yeah,
can come in and
exactly. Yeah,
do that.
they'll be able to get gate access there. and then they just loop through.
Yeah, and there's a lot more
Loop through
engineering
there,
design that
yeah,
has to
that's
go
what
into
Linda
this
Vista
down the
13.
road that we coordinate with as we get, past the rezoning stage, so.
So, I had also sent you kind of that rough drawing of some sort of access to the north, because we're not gonna be able to, I can't get my horses.
You're talking about
across.
trail
Trails?
access?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
you
can- Trails,
and
Jen?
walking.
Oh, yeah.
You had asked about some trail access, you sent some lines, we did discuss that with both the posts and with, Michael Goodman, and they are not, open to the idea of the trail alignment that you had shown. I think when we originally thought that you were wanting trail access, that it would be through the wash here.
Well, I'm not gonna ride into
But-
the other neighborhood that's going in right there.
Well, they'll be leaving all of that open anyway. They won't be able to develop in that area there. So yeah, that was where I think we had thought you were talking about keeping it in the wash where people tend to walk their horses already. So yeah, I guess short answer is no. We aren't open to routing that trail along the north boundary and then around this whole thing as well. It was kind of 360 degrees around that.
Will the school buses actually go into Linda Vista 13, or will the kids walk out to the street?
Yeah, so we could get gate codes for the
That's-
school buses
That's a
as well.
detail we would
It's-
work out with the school district
Yeah.
and during the planning stage. I haven't gone to that level of detail.
Well,
I
if
did pull up
we had to
the-
wait for the kids to be playing around there and try to
Yeah.
get cars in and out.
Yeah, we'd want it
With the
to be
kids
safe.
playing, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, gated communities all the time we'll figure out, there's lots of ways that we could do it, whether it's a pullout just for the bus.
Right.
Or if they come into the community, cause they can get the codes to get to the end of the gate.
Well, and we could bulb this out over here as well, give the kids a place to congregate while they wait for the bus, and then also give the bus
No, thanks.
space to be able to turn around, so.
I have
Good
a
idea,
question.
Brian.
On 39, again, I know you said this before, but I don't remember. Okay, so the back lot line on 39, that buffer, okay, so there's a wall and then 60 feet buffer.
Yeah.
So that wall would be up against Randy, Rhonda and my property, or will it be
60 feet back.
from my
It'll just be
property?
open.
Okay,
Yeah, so this
Open
would
up
all-
to
yeah.
the back wall of this.
Yeah, so this would
Okay.
all be open, well, with
No.
vegetation and trees in it, and then the wall would
Okay,
sit along
so
there.
60 feet from my property, then there's a wall, their backyard walls.
Exactly, yep, yeah, it wouldn't be
And
two
would
walls.
do you think, Mr. Goodman would consider making that buffer zone? Cause 60 feet is a two-way line, highway.
It's not very big.
A 2-lane highway of
60
width.
feet,
Yeah, she's saying, can you get more footage, like rather than
More of a
60, 80
setback.
feet or?
Probably not, given that to do that would be, shifting everything down, a significant redesign there. So obviously that's gonna cause a reduction in what we're showing here quite significantly. And honestly, when you look at 60 feet there and planting that quite heavily with vegetation and trees, that will screen away what you're seeing here because you've got a 60-foot landscape buffer between you. Plus, another 150 or so feet from, your home to the property line.
And that's maintained, the vegetation you plant is maintained by the HOA fees.
Correct.
That'll all be common area, if you will, that'll get
And
maintained. by
irrigated so they actually grow.
Yep. It will have to be on drip irrigation.
I'm fighting for my own HOA because I'm not watering our plants enough, so.
How about
That's
along
bad.
the eastern border of Linda Vista 13? And eastern and southern?
In terms of landscaping?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is, can you see this kind of thin green strip here?
Yep.
That runs here and here? So that's the landscape border, and it's just outside of the 25-foot easement. So the 25-foot easement is from the blue to the green, and then we'd have a 10-foot landscape border that we'll plant, with trees every, 30 feet or so, and then all the shrubs and understory and to create basically a vegetative screen there.
Okay.
And the town has some standards for that too, about, how much
I've seen it.
opacity it creates basically with that screen. Because the idea is that, it does fill in and
So is there
screen
any
that
type of
away from
wall
view.
on that side?
Yeah.
A wall there?
Backyards.
No, so we aren't proposing to do a wall along this boundary. I mean, the builder may choose to do that, but we aren't proposing to do a wall. It would basically be your backyard walls, then that would wrap along here, and then this would all be open, street, park, all of that, and then you'd have, this wall that would wrap
So you've got
around
a
here.
park right up against our street.
Not right up against your street,
No,
it would be,
but-
yeah.
There's no wall to contain.
You're building me a park? Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we
It
use
would-
it? Can we use it?
Yeah,
Yeah, my horses love grass.
the thought is not to, and maybe there would be, a low, kind of 3-foot wall
Yeah,
or
and
something
then the
like
builder may
that.
want that
They may
just to-
they may
I
put
thought
something
you
in
guys,
there.
I thought you guys were saying a 5-foot wall along in there. That's what I thought I heard earlier. but-
Or fence.
The 5-foot wall is your standard, for
No,
the
no, I
backyards.
meant all along Linda Vista
Well,
Place,
we
where
did.
that blue line is. I thought that was gonna be the, like.
Well, in the
We-
first
we did,
iteration, we
yeah.
had it all along the back, cause it
So,
was the back
yeah.
walls.
Yeah, it was the back walls of all the lots, so we did. We had a wall all along
All right.
Linda Vista Place, yeah.
So our thought here is to leave it more natural vegetation and transitioning into where they start grading.
Well, and to,
Revegetate some of that area too.
and to just, so that you don't drive along a wall, that you have some visual relief and, it's stepped back in areas and it's not just a continuous wall.
We did have another concern. I think we voiced it a while back about, having some kind of a gate. So people just can't drive, people in that development don't have access to, our dirt road getting up in there. Cause we're kind of worried, that we want a little bit of security.
Yeah, this development's putting us at risk for a heck of a lot more people and traffic and wandering,
Well, with an
whatever.
open park like that.
Right.
Well, that makes it, yeah, that's what I was,
Kids in the neighborhood.
yeah.
See, where's your
Yeah,
house at?
we're not really worried about us getting into
Yes.
your neighborhood.
My house is.
That's really not a concern you guys should have. It's more,
This is,
everybody that will be going to these homes, delivery, friends of teenagers, whatever, wandering past and coming up our
Yeah,
street.
cause I might even wanna put up a wall or fencing or something like that, all along Linda Vista Place where my property is, to, stay safer.
This development's exposing us,
Well, and again.
so we're looking at some potential protection by at least a fence.
Yeah, I'm an old feeble man, I can't take care of myself anymore.
So again, there wouldn't be any way for any of these residents vehicularly, this wouldn't exist, right? So this would just be a curb, they'd have to hop their
Right.
car over the curb to get
Well,
in.
that's if,
That's if,
We go
yeah,
that
if
route.
you decide
If
you
you
don't want
decide,
that
yeah.
connection, if you want that connection, then that's where we would talk about potential.
So basically, we're at the point now where either we go along with it and you might negotiate something, or we stay our course and not go along with it, and this is what we get. You get what you get.
This
and
is
that's
what
it.
we would propose to take forward to the commission and the council, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're at that point. But if we could get some, and it, some of y'all can support us, and then we can talk about maybe there's a way to get some more stuff, like gates and things like that.
I'm not going back to 39 for me, I just want to take a quick photo of it.
What's that?
I'm not going back to 39 for me, I just want to take a
Yeah,
photo of it.
absolutely.
Put it on my nightstand.
I
Frame
assume
it?
you'll be able to email this to us tonight?
Huh?
You'll be able to email this?
I can email
Yeah.
it to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
He always does.
I'll also send, I did find the Marana, school district letter,
Yeah.
but I'm remembering it's still based on the apartments, so it's way more units than what,
Way
what
more
we're
students.
proposing now. But at the numbers we're, proposing, we're, I think 53, I closed my calculator, 53 elementary school students and 20-something secondary students. And even at the higher numbers, Marana said they have the capacity.
Is this just public education that was consulted, or is it all schools?
This is
It's
Marana's
just
unified,
MUSD,
we don't,
yeah.
Okay.
the private and the charter schools don't have like a.
I have no doubt that the public schools are freeing up because everyone's pushing towards the other schools, but,
Yeah, Degrassi Elementary is the, elementary school that would serve this. They have,
They've got this or
yeah, Tortolita Middle and Mountain View are the three schools, and we do have capacity.
I think that number is probably a little bit optimistic, but 75 is not.
It's not our formula, it's
Yeah,
the
it's
school
theirs.
district.
Yeah, they have their
we'll just use theirs,
multipliers.
yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanna throw that in that.
I'd love to get a copy of that, even with the apartments. I would
Yeah,
happy to
yeah, we
stay
can
with it.
send it out, it's way more because we had 300
So if they're
apartments.
playing with the apartments they've got, that, you know, should be sufficient.
What's your name, sir?
Steve?
Steve? And you're signed in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Garrett, can you make sure that we send that to
Yeah.
Steve? Thank you.
Alright, sorry, I just wanted to throw that in while you were
Yeah.
doing that.
Any other questions?
Should I put down as an action item about checking to see if we can get a gate and some fence security kind of stuff for the Linda Vista Place properties?
You did,
You gotta have one action
And
item.
the
Ryan, come on.
Oasis too. Well, you guys are putting in a gated entry. I would imagine a gated entry people moving into that type of community would want a perimeter fence too.
So basically, you're asking for a fence to wrap from here to here?
No, a fence to go along the outer perimeter of the blue line. Obviously not the dividing line.
We can't do that because that's right in the middle of the easement, so.
Well, okay.
All right, then
So.
put it on my side of on the property, by my property in Harkey's.
Thanks,
Collins.
So what you're gonna end up doing, because all the houses are gonna have those back walls and their side walls,
Mhm.
is you're gonna create kind of an alley effect. And that's not always the greatest thing, because you don't have eyes on that space. Whereas if you leave it open to the walls, and there will be a continuous wall, basically all along here, yeah, where you're going, and then there will be a continuous wall all along that row of lots. And then open space, so it'll almost feel like an extension of, not necessarily your lot, cause it's on the other side of your driveway, but yeah, it would just be open in there, but there would still be a barrier where people aren't just walking out their back.
No, the only open spot would be the park, right? That's.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and we
park,
could probably
and
look
then-
at that, wall in like a wall around the back of the park.
Yeah, along.
Okay, so you used to be a teenager, right? Like I did. And what did I do with my friends? We walked around the back. We ended up behind the walls. And so if there's no buffer, it's like, okay, now I've got these teenagers screwing around with my horses or whatever, or walking onto my property.
Well, and I think that's
Yeah.
kind of to Linda's point though, of, you wouldn't want to create that kind of no man's
I'm not saying a
land.
solid wall, just
See a wall here and then a wall here,
not a wall, like wrought iron, 6-foot wrought iron fence or something, like most subdivisions have around the perimeter of them.
But not all subdivisions do though. A lot of times that backyard wall forms that outer wall for the
Exactly,
subdivision.
that's more typical, actually.
Okay. Well, I guess if it's open, it's open.
Anything else? We've got 9 minutes. We've got the room for 9 minutes more.
What's the change in zoning actually gonna be? Like when they do the annexation, what's it actually changed to?
To R4.
Okay.
High density.
4,000 square foot lots. Yeah.
And it's currently,
SR.
2.3 acres minimum.
So very similar to what a lot of these surrounding subdivisions have, even in terms of density now as well. They're 3 to 4, some of them, I think there's one that's 6, closer to 7 down in here, closer to Hartman. Now we're sitting at less than 4 on the post property, and then overall, if you were looking at it, it's just a little over 4. So 4 residences per acre.
All right, we brought Marcos out, no other traffic.
Yeah, no other, yeah. no-
It takes 7
I didn't
minutes.
have to be here.
No, I was waiting for that. I do have, what's a good way to try to convince the county, and or, because with some of these projects, when you look at the 2024 Marana Road Projects document, it's like 100 pages long, and they talk about all these things along, you know, for the whole county, but in Linda Vista, there's project number 27, it's called. And they say it's shared between, as far as responsibilities go, shared between Marana and the county. And it also says short-term. And I'm trying to get them to define what that really means as far as both the shared part and the short-term aspect of it. Do you have any insight on what that means?
Well, first off, that plan is exactly what it is, it's a plan, it's not a program set of projects, you know. There may be some in there, but it's just what Marana looks to, you know, in the future to see what that roadway will look like and what the future roadway will look like. Coordination with the county, there was probably coordination during the development of that plan. And the county probably does wanna widen that road to 4 lanes. It's always gonna come down to a priority process with the county. And as long as you keep on bringing it up, it's gonna be at the forefront of their, you know, these people really want it. The traffic volumes in the future, particularly with other projects like Cascada.
Yes.
Okay, that's gonna drive the need for some of those improvements at some point in time in the future. Now, that project is still in the process of being reviewed. Who knows when the first house is even gonna be constructed there. But as long as the county officials and the people there know that it's coming, and they should plan for it, and it is gonna impact their roads. Just keep up the.
Yeah, I'll keep doing that, because there's two things when I sent a letter today that I was thinking. First of all, have you ever gone by Mountain View High School or gone down Linda Vista Boulevard? Like right around class, when the kids are getting out?
Oh, yeah.
Is it my imagination, or is the, traffic backed up all the way to Camino de Oeste most of the time?
It's a long line in almost every direction.
Alright, so I would think that would be some justification for them to do the expansion. And then another thing, with this big rain we just had, I counted like at least 12 places between Thornydale and Twin Peaks where the washes were going across the road.
Yeah.
And it was kind of dangerous, it was kind of hairy, so there should be some kind of conduits, going, culverts, going underneath the road when they do the redesign and everything. But I only saw a few accidents today in front of or it was really in front of John's property.
Yeah.
But I was looking out there, and there were people that, it was like really bumpy with the sand all built up and everything like that. And I thought for sure an accident was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So just keep hammering on them and sending them emails, and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, you know, Thornydale should have been widened to
Yeah.
4-lane roadway, I don't know how many years ago, you know, I mean, just that road by itself. And it's still on a list, but I don't know if it's ever gonna happen, even with development happening. Yeah, just keep on saying, I live in this area, we need this.
Alright.
Do you have another analysis, not just on schools, but the emergency services?
That is actually not something we typically do, that's something that the town evaluates as part of their recommendation.
Got it, okay.
So, assuming everything moves forward according to your plan, what kind of timelines are we looking at?
As far as when it would be developed. So rezoning, if it happens in September, you're at, if for some reason Mike sells, Scott left, but Mike sells the property like immediately afterwards, which isn't probably realistic, so maybe thrust of this year to get a deal on it. And then they would start the plating process. The plating process takes 6 to 9 months. And then you go to improvement plans, and then those can take another several months, because you gotta look at Marcos, cause we gotta design that road, you gotta do all the utility improvements, so that's probably another 6 months maybe of design work to be able to get to your first permit. So you're probably like,
In 2027.
yeah. Yeah, before any, like,
Okay, so,
shovel would go in the dirt.
and then completion time, we're looking at like 5 years before everything's done?
I don't
3?
think that, the
No.
way builders are
10.
going through lots, and now that all depends on the market. I mean, we could have, God forbid, another 2008 happen.
Yeah.
But if it keeps going at the rate that it's going today, I would guess it's like a 2 year sellout.
Or 3, yeah.
Three,
Yeah,
2 to 3,
yeah.
you thinking for that size?
Yeah.
But no, I don't see it extending 5 unless the market really gets.
So it'd all be done
Yeah.
in 5?
Yeah. Yeah, and like we were saying, the road, the improvements have to be commensurate with that. You can't build a subdivision, then come back and do the road later, so that all has to happen.
Okay. Okay.
Guys, thank you, this
Yes.
was a great
I got one
conversation.
more.
Oh, yeah,
This-
absolutely.
This is just, it's a traffic thing. So when they do the 4 lanes up to Linda Vista Place, where are they gonna do which side of the road will the expansion take place? On the south side or the north side?
It's a good question. I mean, a lot of times it's based on where the utilities are. If there's utilities on one side, it's just not
Yeah, thank you.
On both sides.
Yeah, so it may be a symmetrical widening where they go 12 feet in one direction or whatever the distance is that they have to go. And they do that symmetrically, and that actually is a little bit of a cost saver. It shortens down your storage lanes and your turn lanes too. But it just depends on what they're gonna find out in the field, what they need.